There were rumors, they were true. Valve is making a PC that is shaped like a Nintendo Switch. Let's talk about it. This is going to be a stream of consciousness type video. I don't have a script in front of me, but I do have a lot of points to cover. And the video I did about the Switch OLED was done in a similar style and performed pretty well, so hey, why not try this one out, right? Now, in general, I'm going to be very positive about the Steam Deck, but just to get this out of the way because I know I'm going to get comments about it, I'm aware that the Steam controller didn't do too well. I'm aware that that Steam box thing they did that they tried to reach the console market with didn't do so well. But even with all that being said, I've still got some pretty high hopes for the Steam Deck. Gabe Newell's been interviewed by IGN, the team has been interviewed, they've done question and answers about it, and everything we know so far, it is just sort of, it's a PC with 16 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage at minimum. There's multiple SKUs. It's Bluetooth compatible, it's got USB-C, it's got an SD card slot. I believe they said it's got HDMI out as well, it's got a headphone jack. In essence, it is a PC, with browser and homepage, downloads, everything. The whole kit and caboodle. The reason this is so darn exciting for me is because, and I've said this on Twitter before too, the Switch style of play is my favorite way to play video games as of right now. I got a secondhand Xbox One for Christmas. I have a Game Pass subscription. I played some games on it like Rare Replay and Sunset Overdrive and lots of stuff on Game Pass, but I don't play it nearly as often as my Switch, just because I like playing in handheld mode. And as for just playing games on my regular old gaming PC, again, I don't do it as often as the Switch. I like picking up the system, booting it up, clicking on a game, and getting right into it. No keyboard needed, no mouse needed, no Windows updates. Just a dedicated device for flipping on and playing games with. And this Steam Deck not only has the potential to be that for every other thing that gets released on the market that doesn't come to Switch, but because it's just a PC, you should be able to run RetroArch on it, download emulators, move your ROMs and ISOs onto it. Use the browser and play browser games. If Club Penguin Rewritten is still a thing, you could do that with this. Or Game Pass. Download the games that Game Pass lets you do on PCs, like Psychonauts and Monster Sanctuary and stuff, and play those like on a Switch-shaped thing. This thing has so much value lined up for it, and the smallest, cheapest SKU is $400. Gabe even said in his interview with IGN that it was painful but necessary to price them this way. Because legitimately, genuinely, they're trying to sort of create a new sect of the PC gaming market. They're encouraging other PC manufacturers to look at what they're doing, figure out how they did it, and make their own versions. And I mean, the $400 one has 64 gigabytes of storage. That is the same amount of base storage as the Switch OLED. I mean, I guess the Switch OLED has a nicer screen and a big kickstand. But yeah, no, who freaking cares? Oh, it's got them Nintendo exclusives. Use a Switch Lite or regular Switch for that. The Switch OLED, as I've said before, is a non-upgrade. Everything that it adds is something you can buy externally for like $9. The $350 price point makes no sense for the Switch OLED. It itself is such a non-upgrade. But the Steam Deck is a full-blown PC and will be able to play games anywhere they're available on PC, which is a lot. I sort of said on Twitter once that I want Microsoft and Sony to copy the Switch style just because I want to play Game Pass games in this format, or PlayStation 2 classics in this format. The Switch format, I mean. And with the Steam Deck, I feel like this is kind of the best case scenario, because you can get a PlayStation 2 or PSP or whatever emulator and play those games, on it. And again, you can download Game Pass games onto the thing. I know that you can play through the xCloud on mobile devices or whatever, but not everybody's got that great of internet, okay? I like having the game just downloaded on the system itself. Now, as for the device itself, I've seen a lot of people say that it looks like a Game Gear or a Wii U gamepad. I actually do think it looks quite a bit like a Wii U gamepad, but that is not a bad thing. Like, yeah, the thumb pad and button placement is not traditional, but it doesn't look like it would be cumbersome. If anything, it kind of makes sense. If you're playing a game with a D-pad and buttons, they're on the, farthest ends there. Playing with a joystick and buttons, it's there, and you need another joystick. Or you could even just not use the other joystick and use the trackpad. There are trackpads on either side of it, too. That's actually kind of genius, because if you're left-handed, and, you're used to that sort of setup, then yeah, the trackpads are interchangeable. This looks smart. I could see myself being comfortable with this. And it's got extra triggers on the back, in case there are, more buttons that need to be mapped. That's pretty cool. And that's another thing about Steam, if you didn't know. their controller support is magnificent. They have some default setups, just like in the settings. You can go to like Xbox controller, PlayStation controller, Nintendo Switch controller, and it just automatically maps most commonly used keys and inputs to the right buttons and sticks. But even then, you can fully trick it out or connect other controllers to it. And again, because this is just a PC, but small and little, you could connect other controllers to it. You could connect a mouse and keyboard to it. You know, you can connect anything that's Bluetooth with it. You could download Dolphin and presumably, you know, connect a Wiimote to it and play Wii games on it. When this was initially rumored, I was afraid that it would be pricey, and I was afraid that it would be somehow limited to only the Steam store. But no, it's a fully fledged PC, and that got the potential is staggering. I feel like this might just be a big game changer for the PC gaming market, and that might also bridge the gap between PC and console players. PC players who like playing games on the go can maybe finally get rid of those cumbersome gaming laptops and adopt this model. And console players who have been made aware of all the glorious, magical things you can do with PCs but were too intimidated by, you know, the amount of options and, you know, whatnot, can look at this and say, oh, it's basically a Switch but with a computer inside it. I could approach this. Not to mention that pricing. Again, the higher end PC people might want to get the highest SKU with the better, you know, screen and everything. And the console players who are just looking for, you know, a thing to play games on will be attracted to the smaller SKU, like I am. And those console players who are used to paying upwards of, like, you know, Xbox and PlayStation amounts for consoles might be attracted to the middle SKU as the, you know, the common ground. It's going to be great for the PC market. As for the console market, a lot of people have been speculating that the console market itself is slowly fading away and turning into streaming services and such. I don't think that's entirely true. I think consoles will still be around. I think Xbox is very, very likely to step out of the console market next generation. But I think before they do, they really should look into making their own line of Steam Deck-like handheld PC Xbox things, you know? I mean, the Xbox Series X and S, they already have developer mode, you know, as an option. You don't have to jailbreak it. It's an option that Microsoft lets you do. And you can do whatever the frickin' heck you want to do with your Xbox, including downloading RetroArch and emulators. So if Xbox makes something like that, in an Xbox or PC, whichever, you know, middle ground they go with, that looks like a Switch, I bet it could do pretty well. It might even do well in Japan finally, you know, who knows? Sony has done handhelds before with the PSP and the Vita. And a lot of people like to talk about how the Vita was ahead of its time, but underrated and didn't sell that well. It just didn't really sell well in the Western market. The Japanese market, it sold pretty darn well, I think. It was up there with the 3DS. But Sony themselves want to target the Western audience more and more, doing those deep cinematic experience, AAA, whatever. And closed Japan studio too. Ugh, Sony. Gosh, I really don't like Sony in the modern day. But they could, down the line, you know, if PS5 doesn't pan out or has diminishing returns, or they see the way the gaming industry is going, they might just say screw it and make their own, you know, Switch-like thing. I actually thought back in the Wii U era that it would have been smart for them to make the PS5 the PSV, like Roman numeral V, it looks like a 5, and make it a, you know, a thing like the Switch. But obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, on the whole, I think people will cite the Switch as being a turning point for the gaming industry, like, you know, future generations when handheld gaming is like a big part of the conversation on par with like specs and multiplayer and online and stuff. I think they will look back and see the Switch as being the, you know, the thing that kicked off that trend. But in reality, I think the Steam Deck is going to be the one that decides whether or not the gaming industry moves in that direction. And I am hoping and praying that it does, because it is my preferred way to play. But that's just me. What about you? Could you engage with me in the comments, please? No, but seriously, I do love having these discussions. But yes, also, I know it's such a YouTuber thing to do. Leave it in the comments, like the video, subscribe. I do want you to do all that, by the way. I know, cynicism aside, I do kind of have to make money. And YouTube doesn't pay that well, unfortunately, but, you know, my Patreon supporters have been getting me by. Big thank you to all of them if you'd like to join their ranks and get behind-the-scenes updates on these videos, as well as a credit at the end like these lovely folks you see before you. You can pledge as little as $1 a month or as much as $10. It's not that much money, right? But anyway, thanks again for watching, especially to the end. You rock for doing that. I will see you the next time I see you.